Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how sometimes we eat and we're not even sure why we're eating?
Hmm.
Well, today we're going to try to understand our hunger signals.
Oh, interesting.
We're going to be looking at this podcast script about people's relationship with food.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's something I think we can all relate to.
Right. Like, why do we eat when we eat?
Yeah, exactly.
And is it because we're hungry or are we just bored?
Hmm.
This script dives into that.
Okay, let's dive in.
And the first thing it talks about is this concept of physical hunger versus emotional hunger.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that before.
Have you?
I have, yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, physical hunger, that's like our body telling us, hey, you need to eat something. Like we need fuel.
Yeah, like your car's running low on gas.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're gonna run out of gas if you don't fill up the tank.
you'd be stranded.
Yeah.
So, like, what does that feel like?
Well, I think it's like, when your stomach starts growling, you get that rumbling feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're feeling a little lightheaded or you're just low on energy.
Yeah.
And it comes on gradually, right? It's not like all of a sudden you're starving. It's
Yeah.
more like your body's giving you these cues over time saying, hey, I'm starting to get hungry.
So it's like gradual.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's physical hunger, and it makes sense.
Hmm.
But then there's this emotional hunger. What is that all about?
Emotional hunger. It's tricky because it's not really about your body needing food.
Mm,
It's more about your emotions. You're feeling stressed or sad or bored,
yeah.
and you're looking for a way to kind of soothe yourself.
Food code?
Yeah. And so you reach for food for comfort.
Like what?
Well, think about like a big bowl of ice cream after a breakup.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like a bag of chips when you're feeling overwhelmed at work.
Mm.
It's that kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it's not really about the physical need for food.
It's more about like, I need to feel better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about trying to make yourself feel better. But the problem is it doesn't really address the underlying issue.
Right.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Okay, so emotional hunger is like when you're trying to fix something else with
Yeah.
food,
Exactly.
but it's not really going to work long term.
Not really.
No.
So how do we tell the difference then?
Well, that's a great question because it can be really hard to tell the difference in the moment.
Right. Yeah, because like you said, you just want to feel better.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that urge can be so strong.
Mm-hmm.
But the script talks about this thing called the hunger scale.
The hunger scale.
Yeah. So imagine like a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being like you are absolutely famished.
Oh my gosh, I'm starving.
Yeah. You haven't eaten in days. And 10 being like Thanksgiving dinner stuffed.
Stuffed.
You can't eat another bite.
Yeah.
So the idea is to check in with yourself before you eat and rate your hunger level
Okay.
on that scale.
Interesting.
And ideally, you want to aim to eat when you're around a 3 or a 4.
A 3 or a 4.
Yeah. So you're comfortably hungry.
But not ravenous. You need to eat, but you're not like shaky or anything.
Gotcha. So it's like taking a pause
Yeah.
before I just grab whatever's in front of me.
Exactly. And ask yourself, like, okay, how hungry am I actually right now?
Right. Because sometimes it might be something else.
It could be something else.
Like what?
Well, the script also points out that sometimes we think we're hungry, but we're actually just thirsty.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
I've done that.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
So before you raid the pantry, try drinking a glass of water and see if that craving goes away.
Oh, that's a good tip.
It's a simple trick, but it can be really effective.
Because sometimes our body is just like, I need something,
Yeah,
but it doesn't know what.
exactly.
So it just says hungry.
Right? Water can often do the trick.
Okay, so we've talked about the hunger scale. We've talked about drinking water.
Uh-huh.
The script also mentions mindful eating.
Mindful eating, yes. It's such a buzzword these days, but I think it's really important. Well, it's about shifting from eating on autopilot to actually paying attention to your food in your body.
Oh, okay.
So instead of like scarfing down your lunch in front of the computer,
Yeah.
you actually sit down at a table. You put away your phone, you turn off the TV, and you just focus on the experience of eating.
Okay.
Slow down, take smaller bites, chew your food thoroughly,
Mhm.
notice the flavors, the textures.
Like really savor it.
Exactly.
It's like almost having a conversation with your food.
In a way,
Yeah.
yeah. It's about really connecting with what you're eating
Hmm.
and paying attention to how your body feels as you eat.
So like noticing when I'm actually full.
Exactly. Because sometimes we eat past the point of fullness without even realizing it.
Yeah, I've definitely done that.
We all have.
Yeah.
And so mindful eating helps us to kind of reconnect with those natural fullness cues.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's about becoming more aware of what our body is telling us.
Okay, so we're paying attention to those signals.
Mm-hmm.
What else does the script say about how to figure out what's going on?
Well, it also mentions keeping a food and mood journal.
Ooh, a journal.
Yeah, it might sound a little old school,
Yeah.
but it can be a really helpful tool
For what?
for becoming more aware of your eating patterns.
Like what kind of patterns?
Well, for example, you might start to notice that certain foods make you feel sluggish or tired after you eat them.
Hmm.
Or maybe you realize that you tend to reach for sugary snacks when you're feeling stressed.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So by tracking what you eat and how you feel before and after,
Uh-huh.
you can start to identify those connections and make more informed choices.
So it's like becoming a detective for
Exactly.
your own body.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
It is. I'm already kind of rethinking some of my choices.
Yeah.
We've got more to talk about.
We do. We've only just scratched the surface.
So we'll be back to explore some more of these practical strategies from the script.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and I have to say, I'm really intrigued by this whole idea of understanding our hunger signals.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely making me think about my own eating habits.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me in the script was this whole idea of ditching the good food versus bad food mentality.
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there. Like labeling foods as good or bad can be so restrictive.
Right. It's like I'm not allowed to eat that, or I should only eat this.
Exactly. And it can create a lot of guilt and shame around food.
Yeah, totally. So how do we get away from that?
Well, the script suggests shifting our focus from judgment to curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah, instead of labeling that cookie as bad and beating yourself up for wanting it,
Mm-hmm.
try asking yourself, how does this food make me feel,
Oh, okay.
both physically and emotionally?
Interesting.
Does it give you energy? Does it satisfy a craving? Or does it leave you feeling sluggish and regretful?
So it's more about paying attention to how my body responds.
Exactly. It's about tuning in to those signals and making choices that feel good for you.
Right. Because sometimes I think we eat things just because we think we should.
Yeah, or because we're told they're healthy.
Right. But maybe they don't actually make us feel that great.
Exactly.
Okay. So what about those times when we're really craving something?
Well, the script reminds us that deprivation often backfires.
Hmm.
If you're constantly restricting yourself and telling yourself you can't have certain foods,
Uh-huh.
you're more likely to end up binging on them later on.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I've definitely experienced that.
I think we all have. So it's about finding that balance.
Like allowing yourself to enjoy those treats.
Yeah, but mindfully and without guilt.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we're not saying go crazy and eat everything in sight
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional with your choices.
and paying attention to your body's signals.
Exactly.
The script also talks about creating a supportive environment.
Oh, yeah, that's such an important point.
But what does that actually mean?
Well, it's about setting yourself up for success.
Okay.
So make healthy choices readily available. Stock your fridge with fresh fruits and vegetables.
Oh,
Have nuts and seeds on hand for snacks. Meal prep some nutritious lunches for the week.
so you're not as tempted to reach for those less healthy options.
Exactly. Because let's be real, when we're hungry and in a hurry,
Uh-huh.
we're not always going to make the best choices.
That's so true.
So having those healthy options ready to go can make a big difference.
It's like setting yourself up for success.
Exactly. And it's not just about what's in your fridge.
Wow.
It's also about creating a mindful space for eating. So sit down at the table, put away your phone, turn off the TV, and just focus on enjoying your meal.
That sounds so relaxing.
It can be, and it really helps you to be more present with your food.
Which brings us back to mindful eating.
It all comes full circle.
It does. Okay, so we've talked about ditching the food labels. We've talked about creating a supportive environment.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, mindful eating.
Right.
But the script also mentions stress.
Oh, stress. Yeah, that can definitely wreak havoc on our eating habits.
How?
Well, when we're stressed, our bodies release hormones like cortisol,
Mm-hmm.
which can actually increase our appetite and cravings for comfort foods.
Oh, wow. So it's not just in my head.
Nope, it's a real physiological response.
Interesting.
So managing stress is a crucial part of having a healthy relationship with food.
Okay, so along with all these other things we're doing,
Right.
we also need to find healthy ways to manage stress.
Exactly. Whether it's exercise, meditation, spending time in nature.
Or getting enough sleep.
Yes, sleep is so important. It's like the foundation of everything.
It really is. This is all making so much sense.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I can imagine some listeners might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Like, how do we actually make these changes stick?
Well, that's where the idea of progress over perfection comes in.
Mina.
It's about recognizing that building a healthy relationship with food is a journey, not a destination.
Yep.
There will be days when you nail it,
Uh-huh.
and there will be days when you fall back into old patterns, and that's okay.
So don't beat yourself up about it.
Exactly. It's about learning from those slip-ups and moving forward.
And remembering that you don't have to do this alone.
Absolutely. If you're struggling, reach out for support.
Like to a nutritionist or a therapist.
Yeah. Or even a friend or family member who can offer encouragement.
It's about building that support system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we all need a little help sometimes.
We do. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but there's one more point from the script that I want to touch on.
Okay, what's that?
It has to do with the impact of different foods on our mood and energy levels.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. The script briefly mentioned noticing how we feel after eating,
Huh.
but I think we can go deeper.
Deeper.
Like, what if we started paying attention to how specific foods affect our mood, our energy, even our sleep?
It's like becoming a food scientist for your own body.
Exactly. Like, imagine you have a pasta lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and an hour later, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
Oh, I've been there.
I can't focus. But then another day,
Yeah.
you have a salad with lots of veggies and protein,
Okay.
and you're like, wow, I'm energized.
Interesting.
I feel good. I can think clearly.
Yeah, like food can really impact us that much.
I think so.
Yeah.
And this script is saying
Uh-huh.
that maybe we should be thinking about that.
Yeah, like how we feel after we eat certain things.
Right. So the food and mood journey
Yeah.
becomes even more useful.
Right.
Because now we can say, okay, I ate this,
Uh-huh.
and this is how I felt.
Exactly. Like not just, I had a sandwich,
Yeah.
but I had a turkey sandwich and then I felt really focused.
Right. Or I had pizza, and then I just wanted to take a nap.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So we could start to see those patterns,
Yeah, and it's different for everyone.
right? Like you might eat something and feel great,
Uh-huh.
and I might eat it and feel terrible.
Exactly. It's
Right.
so individual.
Because like we become our own
Yeah.
scientists.
Like experimenting on ourselves.
right. And we figure out what works for us.
Exactly. It's not about following some strict diet. It's about listening to your own body.
And figuring out what makes us feel good.
Exactly.
So I think that's really the key takeaway here.
I think so too.
It's not just about being mindful
Mm-hmm.
while we're eating,
Yeah.
but it's about being mindful of what we
Mhm.
choose to eat.
And how it makes us feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole journey
It's a journey.
of self-discovery
It really is.
through food.
I love that.
So this has been so interesting.
It has.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. I'm going to go grab a salad now.
Me too. Well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners out there,
Yeah.
keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep diving deep.
and most importantly,
Yeah.
keep listening to your body.
Yes. Your body knows best.
All right, we'll see you next time.